activity is thought to be physically disorganized, that it is for limited capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific proofs, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variable permanently held. We do not apologize to anyone. But we do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions upon what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
Hey everybody, that's the plan. Frico will talk about the news today without freaking out. And I think that I have a good chance of not getting through that today. But I'm going to try my best. So, as you know, this week, as I said at the beginning of the week, I'm going to be testing different times over the rest of this week and then all of next week. And by the end of next week, we're going to figure out exactly what time this show is going to be on. So this is the 6 o'clock test. I'm going to do the show today at 6 o'clock. If I get some huge response, I'll just keep it at 6. If not, I'll try it at 7. And then I'll try another one at 10. And then we'll see. We'll see how the numbers play out. And as far as which time am I officially going to choose? It's not going to be later than 1 or earlier than 6. So somewhere between 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because it's always Eastern Standard Time because that's God's time. Really, it's just because I live on the East Coast of the United States. So that's why Eastern Standard Time is the only time that really matters because subjectively speaking. What do we got for today's show? Well, on today's Frico Talks the News, we'll be talking diamonds are a person's best battery. Palestinians clear the agreement docket with U.S. Israel. The drone wars of Libya and the rise of Turkey. The unintended good of rioting, burning, and broken generalese. And finally, our news poem for the day is going to be Deep Learners Blast the Uncommon Out of the Sense with Digital Twins. I gather up all my research data for the day and I assemble it into the 5 stories that I want to put together to produce today's news art. And today's news art is titled The Drone War Chronicles of 2020. And as usual, get the Frico Talks Daily delivered to your email at frico.com/daily. Let's get to record the first segment of the show. Make a note here before we begin that we are 17 shows in without a freak out. 17 shows in. Actually, is that correct? I think that's wrong. I didn't change this from yesterday. This is 18. Let me change this. You know what? I'm going to change this right now, ladies and gentlemen. We will not be denied our victories. It's 18 shows since last freak out, ladies and gentlemen. I am on my way to greatness. All right, let's get ready to record the first segment here. The talk headlines in 3. Oops. Gotta switch. There we go. There we go. Wait, is that too small? There we go. There we go. We got the scene right. We got the website right. Everything's good. By the way, you want to see the show notes, go to frico.com. It's available there. This is the talk headlines for Frico Talks and News on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. My name is Frico with Frico.com. And our top headline today is Diamonds Are a Person's Best Battery. And this is a excerpt from Forbes.com. Researchers propose new diamond nanostructure for efficient energy storage. So you like my title? I think I like my title better than theirs. Diamonds are a person's best battery. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. You know I got the song. I'm singing it. I'm doing it. I'm outperforming the Forbes.com pros with my headline writing skills. But what's all the story? What is this about? Well, let's get to that in Forbes.com. What makes this energy storage method different is the method by which energy is stored, and also the related increased robustness of the resultant material. Dr. Haifi Azan and his team at the QUT Center, the cute. Oh my, cute. You know what? That's worthy. The CUTE Center for Material Science used computer modeling to propose the structure of these ultra-thin one-dimensional carbon threads. The theory is that these threads should be able to store energy when they are twisted or stretched, similar to the way we store energy in wind-up toys. See, this is kinetic energy that you're talking about here. By turning the key, we force the spring inside into a tight coil. Once the key is released, the coil wishes to release. I don't get this. Once the key is released, the coil wishes to release the extension. I don't know what that means. This is Forbes. Somebody from Forbes wrote this sentence. The coil wishes to release the extra tension held within it and begins to unfurl. In doing so, I mean, do you mean the coil begins to release the extra tension held within it and begins to unfurl? In doing so, it transfers that mechanical energy into the movement of the toy's wheels. Now, I want to just make a note. I'm trying to make sure that I get the gist of the story out there first before I do my clownings, because apparently some people like it when I get right to the story and get the heart of the matter out before the clownings. So in that spirit, I did that, and now I can do some clownings, and I want to do it for this. I want to do it for boom. See it right there? Wait, where is it? Didn't show up. There we go. Wait, what? Oh, wait. I don't want to say the Portland. That's an artifact from a past episode. The Portland. We just wanted to say yes. We just wanted to say cute center. See, that's what it's all about. I work at the CUTE Center. Oh, yeah. Well, I work at the CUTE Center. I use diamonds to wind up toys, and I turn that into energy that wishes for energy or something, whatever that phrase was. What was this? The coil wishes to release the extra tension held. The researchers theoretically tested... Wait, theoretically. So, what you know, that means that this is a mathematical model test. This isn't actual stuff. This is mathematical model test. Hey, based on what we know, enter the math. Will this work? So they entered the math. This is what they found out. The researchers theoretically tested carbon nanotubes against their diamond nanothreads and discovered that although individual carbon nanotubes had better mechanical properties than an individual novel diamond nanotube structure, novel as in new, okay, as opposed to the old. There must be some other. I don't know what that means. Why novel? Why do you call it novel? Why is there another diamond nanotube structure that's not novel? It's a diamond nanotube structure, but it's not novel. I don't know. It's a mystery. The diamond nanothreads bundles were more structurally stable than the carbon nanotube bundles, meaning that they could be coiled more effectively and store more energy and release as much as possible without deterioration. So that's the key, that you can store the energy. Whenever you transfer energy into storage, you lose a little, and whenever you then pull on that energy from that storage, you lose a little. So they're minimizing the loss in those exchanges. Bravo. While they are versatile and robust, the fact that they exist on such a tiny scale means that these DNT bundles could be used to power tiny robotics and electronics. Once again, we're talking about the ability to condense power in smaller and smaller spaces and to condense more and more power in those smaller spaces, which means that we're just on the way. We're on the way to my suit being created, my AI buddy suit, where I put on my clear AI buddy suit. I may only change it once a year, twice a year, once every 5 years, whatever it is, to clean it out, whatever you got to do. It'll mostly be self-preparing, self-cleaning, all that stuff. And these types of technologies that they're developing, these type of dino nanotube batteries, they could be part of the way that you could actually power all the little electronic gizmoids that are part of your suit that enhance your overall human experience and equip you wherever you go with an army of the latest, greatest, awesomest experts of all time ever to digitally, virtually, or literally walk the face of the planet. Imagine every single human being walking around with the full counsel of the full wisdom of the world. That's what we could be looking at, folks. The democratization of tech, the democratization of intellect. How about that? Democratize intellect. Because most of the quote-unquote intellectuals today have chosen not to honor their, I guess you could say their I don't want to say responsibility, but I'll say for most of us, the whole with great power comes great responsibility, Spider-Man kind of thing. The folks that have the means to know things, they don't deliver the truth to the people. They use what they know to manipulate people to believe things rather than just honestly sharing what is and letting people come to their own conclusions. So imagine if we could all walk around with the full intellectual capacity at our fingertips. Even if we have an IQ of 80, we still can't be fooled by a person with an IQ of 20. Imagine how difficult it would be for politicians if all human beings had the capacity to instantly understand all of the historical contexts of all of their statements to realize just how same they are. S-A-M-E, not S-A-N-E, because they're opposite. They're the opposite of sane. They are the same, as in the same psychopathic tendencies that all of our leaders have chosen throughout the millennia. They're still showing. But this time, because you got your little AI buddies, you remember the 1,500 other examples that show that what they're saying is absolute balderdash. And hey, we've tried that 1,500 times before, and it always ended the same way. It always ended with murder. Maybe we won't listen to you there. See, that's the great equalizer. Though this structure is currently theoretical, like I said, it's a mathematical proposition. The next stage of research for this group is to create an experimental nanoscale mechanical energy system as proof of concept. Dr. Zahn said his team will be spending the next 2 to 3 years building this mechanical energy storage system with a hope of implementing this new mechanical storage solution in a range of applications, including batteries, smart textiles. See, there you go. Wearable tech. This is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen and days. I'm talking about the wearable tech. I want wearable tech on my body right now. Give me that wearable tech. That invincible wearable tech. Everybody is a god. Well, metaphorical god, not a literal god, but a metaphorical god. Imagine a world where everyone can experience apex existentiality just by putting on their suit. Everyone, every human being. I mean, I'm really pushing the bounds of what might be realistic, but boy can dream. Imagine that. Just imagine that, though. These are the types of technologies that are being developed, even as we speak, that could take us into a world where consensuality was not a hope-for dream. It would be the only way that you could realistically survive in the world if you want to live in the world with other human beings. Because no one will put up with anything less than consensual when everyone has such capacities to walk away and not be fooled. Oh, wait. Oh, I know this one. You're approaching me with this con job. Oh, yeah, my engineering AI buddy, he told me about how this has been used through the ages to trick people into doing whatever. I was trying to think of an example. I couldn't think of an example in my head, but the proverbial selling the Brooklyn Bridge to someone will never happen. Hey, I'm going to tell you this, Bridge. And like your AI buddies, well, it's if you're so dumb and you're an IQ of 80 and you don't know anything and you're like, duh, I never heard of this story, so it must be true. Your little AI buddies will be like, no, brah, hold on. Look, like 1934, 1962, 1986, blah, 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 blah. It's this. Okay. Well, thank you for your time. I'll keep my money. See, that's how it can be, ladies and gentlemen. That's the future that I offer you. Frico offers you. And if you want that future, then you have to stand with me against IP, against patenting. Don't steal people's identities. Don't claim stuff that you didn't create. But outside of that, just like what I say for my show, you want to use my show? You could be live streaming my show right now, making $1 gazillion off of my live stream show right now, and I won't say a thing to you. I don't even care. As long as it's on there that this is Frico, created by Frico of Frico.com, then, hey, I'm cool. Give me the free press. It's like I'm paying you, even though really your audience would be paying you, but metaphorically, I'm paying you to advertise for me. That's what I want. I want open tech, open ideas. I want the colonization of the mind to stop. And if that does, then technologies like this will get us closer to my dream of having the AI buddy suits. AI buddy suits, baby. AI buddy suits. So we're going to end this headline. Coming up next is the dialectical. And the dialectical today is the unintended good of rioting, burning, and broken General Lees. I'm going to leave that cute center up, see if the way we do things here, if it survives the story, then it stays until the next story to see if it gets used again or if it evaporates. This is highly likely to evaporate with the next story, the cute center. Before we end this segment, I want to point out that some of the places we get our stories from are our news aggregate sites that I run. One of them is newsalike.com, and if you went there today, you would see bus drivers across the country refusing to transport arrested George Floyd protesters to jail. Non-cooperation with evil is as much a moral obligation as it is cooperation with good. Martin Luther King Jr. That's going to turn into a story later on, probably next few days somewhere. Maybe next week, maybe the end of this week, I'm not sure. How Amazon's worker safety video aired on 11 TV stations. Why Flint Sheriff Chris Swanson took off his riot gear to walk with protesters. And finally, Japan's new space squadron takes a giant leap forward. And that's how we'll end this segment. Oh, I didn't switch over to... Oh, that's right. I don't want to... That's right. So let's... Just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, I am generally probably not going to be using the third scene in my storylines here. So this is scene 1. This is scene 2. And this is scene 3. The way I originally set these up, all the scene 3s don't have any of the website showing. So I won't show scene 2s when I do the next scene. Then I go on over to the transition scene here. Going to get ready for the next story here in a second. We're going to go to our dialectical. And let's get her up here. 3. Up. There we go. Now we're ready in 3, 2, 1. This is a dialectical for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com, and our dialectical today is the unintended good of rioting, burning, and broken General Lees. So this is where I started. So I write the show ahead of time, and I write stories ahead of time. So I wrote this story. I began this process a day or so ago, where I'm going to, for the sake of my wife and a couple of other folks, watch this. Ready? Before we begin, what happened? Rioters across the country have been destroying statues and monuments to Confederate leaders and other symbols of American leaders that advocated for white supremacists. Or white supremacism, and now on with the show. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now if I go off in tangents, whatever, you got the heart of the matter. That's the key to the story, so you got it. So there. Now we're going to meander. Or not. We'll see what happens. There are a lot of narratives unfolding from the spate of protests and riots that took off across the country after a viral video showed cops essentially terminate a man in a manner that was mostly obviously the vast majority of eyeballs as crossing into criminal action on the part of the officers. That was my polite, nice way of saying what we saw this video. That was my nice, polite way of saying we saw this video of cops murdering a man, and the man also happened to be black. Now, the cops murdering, the title murder, the definition, legal, whatever, I'm not here to define all that stuff. I will say at the very least, it's at least negligent homicide at the very least. But I would call it from my moralistic constructs, I'd call it murder. I don't know if I'd call it murder legally. I'd have to know more stuff, but by and large, what happened there, nobody thought that was a good thing. Everybody felt threatened by that. Everybody. Just about, unless you're a cop, everybody felt threatened by seeing that. This wasn't just the fact that this was a black man that was killed. This is a human being that was killed, an American citizen. An American citizen who was killed, being arrested and attempted to be drug off to jail over an alleged fake $20 bill. That's what this is all about. I'm sorry. that makes me feel threatened. That makes me feel like I am not safe when I walk outside my street. I don't know what these cops are going to do. Because if this is normal for policing, and I think it mostly is, then we're all in trouble. We are all in trouble. So the action itself was and is a game changer in a multiplicity of ways for a multiplicity of factions in America, most of which found significant reason to view that video as, one way, shape, or form, the last middle finger in the face by our leaders, who talk to us increasingly in ways that are abusive, violent, self-centered, or it's how abusive, violent, self-centered parents talk to their traumatized 2-year-olds. That's the language that they use. You just don't understand. Listen, this is for your own safety. Your own safety, and yet everything they tell us, we keep finding out the opposite. You shouldn't use the mask. You should use the mask. You shouldn't use the mask. Masks are now mandatory. We will literally arrest people, and we did. We literally arrested people for not wearing masks, even though once we were arresting people for wearing masks or for buying masks or hoarding or something or other. I don't know. It's confusing. It's all inconsistent. These people are just making crap up as they go along, and it's becoming more and more apparent what moron, retarded idiots that we have put into positions of power over our lives, and just how much power we has created for these people to dictate the terms to our lives under a condition that apparently they were the experts who could figure crap out. So hey, relent your freedoms. We will guide you out of the darkness and into the promised land. And it turns out they're the ones that made the darkness in the first place. This is where we're going. So as the days go on, I'll talk about a lot of these factional concerns, but for this dialectical, I want to talk about the race element of the event and what might be at the end a bit of a benefit down the road from this affair of discussion. When I say the race element, I don't mean the full meal deal, deep depth of exactly what that is. I'm just one aspect of the race element to this, which is very obvious. And I will say this. As much as that video makes me fearful to go outside, and for me personally, as a white man who has very little interaction with the police, and most of my interactions have been positive, well, at least neutral, not really positive, because most of the time it was, I think most of the time I've ever interacted with police in any kind of meaningful way, it was usually being pulled over for a speeding ticket. I went through a period of time where I did a lot of speeding. I haven't, like 4 or 5 years, I haven't done that, but my interaction with them has been okay, normal. But even at that, even though my interactions have been okay, I am afraid of the cops. When I see police, I am afraid. I am fearful. I am not fearful of them because I'm thinking, oh, well, they're going to find out I'm doing something wrong. See, I know that you don't have to be doing something wrong to be doing something wrong. I know that if I meet a cop on a bad day, at a bad place and time, that cop could kill me. And there's very little chance that anything will happen in return. Anything. But as much as I am fearful of the cops, when I see cops behind me, I freeze up. I'm like, oh crap! I gotta watch everything. I gotta watch myself, because I know even if I watch myself, I could do everything right, and I could still see the little sirens, and they'll pull me over and they'll say, we smelled something or saw a little swerve, and we're gonna check your car. We're gonna, yeah, you know, I forget the name of the person that wrote, well, there's a book. What is it? 4 felonies a day or something like that. It's a book that shows that there are so many laws out there that we don't even know, just at the national level. Never mind what local insane laws local jurisdictions have written, because local jurisdictions are even more tyrannical generally than national and state jurisdictions. Between all of these laws, just the national laws, you could very well be committing 4 or 5 felonies a day and not even know it, because there's so many things that are now classified as a felony offense. So you don't know. You could be doing everything right. You just the wrong time in the wrong place. As much as I fear that, I can't imagine what it's like to live in America if you're black, unless you live in a place in which you know the people really well and you know the cops really well and everybody's cool. Other than that, I just can't. One of the biggest reasons that we still have racial tensions outside of the race merchants that do what they do to keep people whipped up into frenzies of hate. So keep the poors focused on destroying each other instead of targeting the Citadelians, who actually are the ones mostly behind most of the racisms that you see. Outside, we can consider the fact that racism is being perpetuated, sometimes falsely, by race merchants, but the biggest proponent of racism in America today is the American Police Department. That is where racism has its power. If you take away the guns that racially profile, if you take away the guns that assume the worst if it's a black person, and thus that black person is immediately and significantly more threat of assassination by a cop than a white person is, or many other races are, for that matter, then what you have is a situation where racism is just a bad idea. If you take away the guns that enforce racist thought, racism is a bad idea that you can laugh at. It's like evolution denial to me. You're that retarded. I'm sorry, if you don't believe in evolution, I don't mean to call you retarded, but you are retarded in that area in your life. Because there's no way. I mean, I'm being a little hyperbolic. There's a chance that evolution is not real. I don't want to say absolutely for sure that evolution doesn't have it, that evolution has it right. Well, evolution doesn't have it right. Evolution is a general concept, though, is pretty solid as far as I've seen. The particulars, well, probably be a long time before we figure out the particulars of how things emerge. We got a lot of, you listen to this show, we talk a lot about new discoveries and their understanding of what evolution even is. But evolution in and of itself is just, well, it's just a general concept. And if you deny the general concept, I think that you're going to have a hard time processing the world around you in any kind of meaningful way. And I kind of feel that way about people that in one way, shape, or form entertain the notion that somehow genetically someone is inferior to another person because the one person belongs to one race group and another person identifies in another race group. And yet, how are so many supremacist fighting people fighting supremacism with supremacism? So we're going to move from white supremacism to POC or rainbow supremacism, whatever the case might be. They're going to combat supremacist stigmatizations with supremacist stigmatizations. So that's going to work out, and as you can see, it's all fun. But again, even with all that, even if you have all these race baiter, these race supremacists, the people fighting racism with racism, all these things, if you take away the guns from the racists, from the institutional racists, which are the police. By the way, I'm not saying police are racist or that all police. I don't want to paint all people that are police officers as being racist, but I will tell you, as a police officer, you belong to an institution that is fundamentally racist. As a matter of fact, it began as a racist. It began chasing slaves. That's how American policing began. It began as a method to chase down runaway slave brigades, runaway slave officers. That's how peace officers began. They began chasing down slaves and repatriating them back to their owners' homes, I guess. The symbolic disregard of a black man's life gives voice to generations of frustrations from significant swaths of the black community I've referred to as being behind enemy lines, in the ghettos, with generational welfare designed to destroy families and create subsistence dependence. Ghettos with laws that prevent citizens from defending themselves from criminals by taking away their Second Amendment right to bear arms. This is one of the most vulgar things that we do in this country, and it is being perpetuated by the people that allege to be the champions of the downtrodden. The ones that champion the disenfranchised are the very ones constantly calling for the disenfranchised, to be disarmed and disempowered and at the mercy of the same police that they say are systematically racist. You tell me, how do you listen to a leader that tells you the police are dangerous, give up your guns? How do you even listen to that person for another second? As soon as they say give up your guns, tell them to fuck off. Just walk away. Never ever associate with a gun grabber as much as you possibly can. They're the most dangerous people in America are gun grabbers. Flat out. These are the folks that empower racism and bigotry more than any other group in America. The gun grabbers make racism possible. If you, what happened in Tulsa in 1920, or is it 19, whatever the exact date of the Tulsa? These weren't riots. This was just a genocidal massacre of an entire black community. That black community had a fighting chance. And they put up a fight. But in the end, they were annihilated because they didn't have enough weapons. They weren't annihilated because of gun violence. They were annihilated because they didn't have airplanes with bombs. They had guns, but they didn't have airplanes with bombs. The whites had the airplanes with the bombs, and they used them. If you want to be free, you have to have the power to insist that you're free. And if you don't have the power to insist you're free, you're not going to be free. So anyone preaching freedom or justice while also preaching gun control is a liar, is working to keep you right where you are at, pinned down at the mercy of these same cops that murdered, just murdered George. George was murdered. George was murdered. Yeah. All right. Every day. This is one of these stories that's really hard to get through. That's why I'm pausing here, because it's very difficult to get through the story without freaking out. Every day, their kids get kidnapped for trying to thrive in an unsecure environment. One assured unsecured by the institutional policies of their own government for the past 50 years. These kids sell drugs, or they merely use and possess them. And they quickly get picked off. Now, when I say they sell drugs or they merely use and possess them, that's only the ones that are quote-unquote guilty. I can't even count all the ones. Who knows how many of the ones that weren't guilty, that had evidence planted. No idea what those numbers are. I'm sure they're much higher than you would want to realize. Human beings, individuals, snatched off the streets, unjustly accused, no power, no guns, nothing. Just completely at the mercy of the government that only looks at them as essentially a slave. Black communities, they are people talk about this. The schools train black, the poor schools in black communities train blacks to get ready for a prison. They treat them like prisoners. They get them ready for the prison mentality. They treat them like tiny little infant, psychotic children. That's how they treat them. And they condition them and they prepare them for a life of prison. And black families, how many black families in ghettos have family members that have been in prison for 10 plus years over minor drug crimes? So they allegedly sell drugs, sometimes they do. They allegedly possess drugs, sometimes they do. And they quickly get picked off in the droves by the home monitors, the cops, who spend more time assaulting people for exchanging value that's none of the damn business than they do finding murderers and thieves. What is, if 60% of murderers get away with it? Mm-hmm. How many tax evaders get away with it? They get in the system. And they get hit hard because there are another set of laws that are used in combination. This is what you progressives don't understand. You knee-jerk reaction to gun control because conservatives are for guns. So if conservatives are for guns, that's part of the platform. Hey, you got to sign up with the progressive platform, which is anti-gun. Why the heck are progressives, the alleged party of the people, the poors, why are they anti-gun? Why are they so hell-bent on removing what little power the poors have to check the power of the Citadelians? Because they're Citadelians, the progressives. They're ruled and run by I'm not talking about if you're a progressive idealistically. I'm not saying that you are a Citadelian or that you're intentionally enabling the Citadelians. You won't believe me that you are, but you are. Any of you that promotes gun control, you're a racist, pretty much. I don't think you should be found out and your life destroyed because you're racist. Because this is on the scale of racism, I guess it's minor compared to what the dude did to George, the guy that murdered George. But still, it's a very soft racism. The reason that progressives support gun control, I will argue, is because they fear black people. They like you right where white liberal progressives like black America, right where it's at. And they understand the power, the combination of drug laws and weapons laws. That is how they put your children away for decades for minor offenses. That's how your children become slave workers for corporate prisons. Corporate prisons that rent out your slave workers for pennies on the dollar. Cheap labor, cheap American labor. Made in America, could be made by predominantly black slaves. That's what gun control laws produce. Gun control laws perpetuate and create black slaves. So if you're listening to me and you're black and you live in America, God fucking damn it, stop supporting gun control, you fucking idiots. Just stop supporting gun control. Do I count that as a freak out? No, not going to. If you guys think it's a freak out, comment down below. But I am saying that's not a freak out. Because I said that very deliberately. And those words needed to be said. God fucking damn it. Just stop it. Just stop enabling your masters to control you. Fight against drug laws. Fight against gun laws. If you want to end racism in America today, it's real simple. Cops, stop enforcing laws that violate our Bill of Rights. Just stop it. End the drug laws. End the gun control laws. Give black Americans the power to finally protect themselves against violence. The police aren't there to protect them. They disarm these communities and then they ignore them and let them kill each other. That's what they do. And it's by design, black America. Gun control laws are designed to stop you. Drug control laws are primarily designed to keep you in your place. And the gun laws and the drug control laws. And this racism ends. But what do they want to do with this? They want to take the racism and they want to turn it as a justification for even the same types of controls that are producing the racism, the bigotry, the imbalances of justice, the imbalances of wealth, the concentrations of power. These same controls, they're telling you in order for you to end the things that these controls have caused, we need more of these controls. And you idiots, white, black, and otherwise, you idiots, you keep thinking that you will be safer if you just put all of your trust into the Citadelians that made all this. Just about ready to lose my 18-show streak and make it 0, but I stopped myself there because I'm about ready to. I had a nasty thought in my head, but I didn't express it. I'm just so fed up. I think a lot of us are. So these communities have long been ticking time bombs. Communities under siege denied their American rights to thrive with boots on necks from cradle to grave. Boots with R's and D's in them alike as they lash out and as others are bussed in. Opportunists, most likely from multiple factional concerns. Destruction can sometimes be the luck of the draw, and sometimes it can be directed. One of those targets are the symbols of leadership from past Americans that represent, defend, and or demonstrated their assumptions of white supremacy. I want to do the obvious. And that is, I want to say this. I want to make it clear here to say that I do not at all endorse violence, other than self-protection, self-preservation. I won't say that I'm not an absolutist. I'm not a NAP person. I don't believe in the NAP per se. I like the NAP as a general principle, but I'm not absolutist with anything. But in general, pretty with very few exceptions, I do not endorse violence. Even if I can intellectually and emotionally understand to some degree the frustrations and the temptations to give in to the revengeatary and hate opportunist psychopaths are whipping people up to entertain. So I'm not going to read all of the excerpt is from New York Daily News, and basically what they do is they cite a number of examples across the country, of which Richmond, Virginia, South Carolina, we have Minneapolis, anyway, we have in a number of places what they've cited is a number of statues that have been destroyed. And I say I am not endorsing the violence, I'm not endorsing the way that these statues were destroyed, but I'm totally endorsing the statues themselves being destroyed. Not in this way, but I'm very happy with that side effect. I'm not happy with how the side effect happened, but I'm happy with it. I am happy to see these statues disappear. And they need to I believe they need to disappear. I don't necessarily want governments to try to force private concerns to take down their statues, and I'm not necessarily for the whole over-the-top social shaming that destroys human lives crap. I'm about sick of that as well. But a minor degree of social shaming, like, oh man, that's not cool, or something. But I do think that having these statues disappear, the ones that have disappeared during this time, is that's a good side effect. It's good to remove the canonization of racism. I don't care what anybody says. You can't help avoid, for significant portions of Americans, at least half, and I don't just mean black Americans, many Americans could. You don't really want to have systems of power perpetuate institutional racism, slavery. You don't want that, whether you're white or black. Even if you're white, you do not want that, because the racism and the slavery of today may have as its target blacks. Tomorrow it might be whites. The next day it might be Chinese. Who knows? Whatever the particular proclivities of those who happen to hold the guns in government, whatever their particular proclivity is. You want governments that fundamentally feel that they do not have the power, the ability, whatever, to even consider such measures. So for all Americans, it is in all of our, I will say it's, if we wish to see consensuality rule the land instead of what we have now, which is various forms of fascistic kind of factionalism, then you'll want the statues to disappear. So I say, great, I'm happy about this. I'm happy about this side benefit. And that's it. That's how this segment will end. This is the end of the headline segment, or which segment is this? Which one is this? This is the dialectical, right? This is dialectical. This is the dialectical. There's the end of the dialectical. And some of the places that we get our dialecticals from is our aggregate of sites, one of which is Obamacare.tv, our news aggregate sites. What I should say. And on Obamacare.tv, you went there today, you would read cannabis residue discovered on ancient Israelite altar. Police don't make neighborhoods safer. Could Apple be worth $2 trillion in just 4 years? And less tangible for brands. Marketers pull back from Pride Month sponsorships. That's just some of the headlines that you see on Obamacare.tv. Coming up next is the Talk Focus, and the Talk Focus is Palestinians clear the agreement docket with the U.S. and Israel. Oh man, I didn't even ship to the second scene. Man, I got one more segment to record before the break, and I'm gonna do it. But man, I really can't wait till the break, because I gotta go pee-pees. But listen, even though I gotta go pee-pees, you know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do, friends and family? Friends and Romans. Fellow Romans. Yeah, I'm going to get through this show, and then afterwards I'm going to have myself a giant piece. All right, let's record this segment. We're going to record this. We're going to get through this segment quickly. Highly motivated to get through this segment quickly. We're going to start recording in 3, 2, 1. This is the Talk Focus for Frico Talks News on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. My name is Frico with Frico.com. And our top focus today is Palestinians clear the agreement docket with U.S. and Israel. I don't know if I have a whole lot to say about this, but I definitely think that this is something you should be paying attention to. Subjectively, my valuation is such. It looks like the Palestinian National Authority is set to start from scratch regarding its agreement between the United States and Israel. The move could be read to signal a shifting geopolitical circumstance where the Palestinians no longer feel compelled to so strongly consider American power in a region with increasingly competitive superpower presence from all three powers, the United States, Russia, and now China. The Palestinians, they don't necessarily feel like they only got to play ball with the U.S. anymore, and the Russians and the Chinese are also offering them all kinds of monies and whatnots. This is an excerpt from Modern Diplomacy.eu. EU. Boo! Sorry. Knee-jerk reaction. Palestine ends all agreements with Israel and the United States. On May 19th, that's my birthday, by the way, Mahmoud Abbas, president of the Palestinian National Authority, the PNA, they used to just be the Palestinian Authority. Now they're the Palestinian National Authority. I think that probably has something to do with their working to get recognition, I guess. They have been somewhat doing that, trying to get international recognition of themselves as sovereign lands. It changes the game somewhat, so I think that's why they moved from the PA, which was always, I hated the PA when I saw, not the organization, the PA, but, well, I don't like it, but I don't hate it, but I don't know enough about it. It's a coercive enterprise. It assumes coercive enterprise assumptions, so in that sense, it's crap, of course, but in the scale of coercive enterprises, I don't have much to say about it one way or another, but the PA, I'm from Pennsylvania, every time I saw PA, that bothered me. That bothered me! Now you're the PNA, and I don't know any PNA, so that's good. I favor this. So they've declared an end to all agreements, including security agreements with Israel and the United States. On May 22nd, Palestinian security forces withdrew from the East Jerusalem area. The reason for this decision was Israel's claims to annex about 30% of the territories in the West Bank, also known as Judea and Samaria. This was announced by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on May 10th during the presentation of his government to the Knesset. According, the Knesset is their elected body, their legislative body. According to him, the time has come to apply Israeli law to these territories and write another glorified chapter in the history of Zionism. Okay. It should be noted that the territories mentioned are the Palestinian territories in West Bank captured by Israel during the 6 Days Wars of 1967. Why should it be noted? Why? Why should this be noted? I don't think it should be noted. I don't think it's relevant. Well, I mean, it might be to you. It might be to you folks within your nation-state parameters or coercive enterprise parameters that you're always looking for legitimacy when never does it exist. Legitimacy is largely a lie in this context, in the nation-state context. Legitimacy is just an attempt to balm over the instinctive reaction of human beings to other human beings murdering others with no just cause. See, we instinctively understand the disadvantage to us of other human beings taking highly non-coercive action against others. But when it favors us, we have to come up with some sort of, not even intellectual, it doesn't have to be intellectual at all, it could be totally spooky and mystical, some sort of usually moral supremacist justification for the violence that favors us. And on that front, I don't have much to say about the arguments, the fights between Israel and the Palestinians. It's just two coercive enterprises that use various vehicles of power to justify their selective enforcement of their violent laws against others, for the purpose of making others feel safer, or whatever the case might be. I mean, let them fight to the death is what I say. It would be great if anybody shows up in that region, in the Israel-Palestinian region, that is actually fighting and working to build something of a consensual nature, then hey, I want to listen to that. Go up north to Syria, go to northern Syria and check out what the Rajavans are doing. Love the Rojavans. If the Palestinians were taking a Rojavan approach, I'd favor the Palestinians. Just subjectively, not morally. Just, it would be in my best interest to see consensual systems succeed. Proof of concept would be very encouraging for me. If I saw consensual systems that were actually succeeding, it would definitely encourage others to consider this consensuality. I wouldn't consider consensuality on any other reason other than attaching it directly to my own self-interest. And my own self-interest, as I repeat often in this show, I've come to realize that I'm a piece of garbage crap. I am useless. I am fragile. I am not a superhero. I can't leap tall buildings in a single bound. I can't stop bullets. There's very little things that I actually need in life on a daily basis that I am able to provide for myself. I seem to need others for a lot of things. And so with all of this awareness in mind, I've come to understand the advantage for me of having human beings that look at me with mercy and grace, because I know I'm going to fuck up. I'm going to totally screw up. I'm going to do bad things. I'm going to do evil things. I have natures in me that are fearful, that when I'm fearful, I turn to existential threats of others. We all do. Usually the existential, when I say existential threat, it's usually quite on the surface innocuous. It's calling people names, epithets, whatever that they know will, that you at least believe will fundamentally assault their very sense of existentiality. We all do all these horrible, evil, disgusting, decrepit things. We steal, we cheat, we lie. Most of us haven't murdered directly. We murder indirectly in the systems that we allow ourselves to benefit from that we know are murdering others. So with all that in mind, I know darn well that if I do not have grace and mercy on others, there's a good chance they won't have grace and mercy on me. And so I seek consensuality, not because it's ideal or loving or kind or just or any of those other garbage words. I seek consensuality because I will die without it. I will not be able to fully live out the life of my choosing if I don't have human beings out there that I can interact with in consensual ways that can help equip me to live the life of my own choosing. And I must do the same for them if I'm to hope that they'll do the same for me. And on that front, neither the Israeli government nor the Palestinian National Authority is offering anything but shuffling the bodies around so that the next group of winners can feel good about the killings. That's it. That's all they're doing there. So I don't really take sides when it comes to Israel and Palestine. I favor no human beings being hurt or killed by anyone, by the Palestinians hurting Israelis, Israelis hurting Palestinians. But as far as the systems that they both advocate for, fuck them both. Seriously, fuck them and the donkey they came on. I don't really care. I don't care about their systems. I care about the individual human beings. I don't care about any of their systems, and there are no good guys. There are no good guys. If you think the Palestinians are the noble heroes, you're probably racist. You're probably just very patronizing in how you're probably white and you view everyone in some sort of special elevated status, which is really diminished. Your magnanimity over your whiteness is duly noted, but you're racist because the Palestinians, well, not Palestinian individuals. I'm not saying anything against Palestinian individuals or Israeli individuals. I got nothing against Jews or Arabs or Palestinians or Muslims or anyone. I definitely have something against all coercive enterprises, even my own American coercive enterprise. But there's no good guys there. And I'll just leave it at that. It would be great maybe if somebody showed up someday and said, hey, there's a better way. Or not somebody. It wouldn't be good to be a somebody. Not a somebody. Not one person. Not an individual. Not a face. Not a charismatic voice. It would be great if hordes of individuals showed up and just started doing consensual things that fucked everything else up for all the non-consensualists. And that's it. That's the end of this half of the show. I get all of my stories from my news aggregate sites that I run, one of which is pioneeringnews.com. And if you go there today, you'll get Terahertz radiation can disrupt protein in living cells. Might end up writing more about that one. New Russian policy allows use of atomic weapons against non-nuclear strike. Watch for that one. That's going to be a news poem coming up. TikTok apologizes for blocking Black Lives Matter hashtag. And in Not of Me Too, China codifies sexual harassment by law. I'll read two more here. Turkey's occupation of Kurdish Afrin targets women, minorities. The Turk Reich must be destroyed. Kurdish Afrin, by the way, that is Rojava. It was Rojava. It's been taken over. But it's Rojava still in my heart. And finally, the 160-year-old reason you're obsessed with your lawn. And that one really sucks. And with that, I will end this segment. We'll get ready to go on the halftime break. And after the halftime break, we'll get to the talk feature. And the talk feature is going to be the drone wars of Libya and the rise of Turkey. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to punch this puppy in the head, although I would not literally punch any puppy ever because I am a huge dog lover. But metaphorically, I'm going to punch this puppy in the head. I'm going to make it happen. We're going to end this segment, and we're going to go to the break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that in mind, let's get to the break. Can't happen fast enough because I told you, I've got to pee. I have to pee really, really bad. So this break is really important to me, and the more that I talk like this, the longer I wait to pee, so I should shut up. I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to go to the break. We'll see you in a few.
Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me.
beings physically restored the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific news, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone in our we do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions upon what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
So I'm looking at the, oh yeah, that is the plan. Do not freak out, that's the plan. All right, so I tried to fix my thing, and I actually made it worse. Hold on one second. So, while I'm trying to fix this, so I'm looking at my D-Live thing here, and I see the comment, I wonder if this guy knows the whole time he's been muted. Yeah, I know the whole fucking time I've been muted on fucking D-Live. I'm just about done with fucking D-Live. I have tried everything to get this thing to work. What happens with D-Live? I start to stream. What happens with D-Live is I start to stream. I start to stream, and then after I stream, then all of a sudden, you know what? Oh boy. And then it sounds, you can hear everything's just fine. And then somewhere about 10, 15 minutes into the show, nothing. Absolutely. All of a sudden. Now, why are you not? It just goes silent, and you can't hear a freaking thing. And then. There we go. There we go. See? Seeing behind the scenes, and. Oh, man, that's really bad there. That's really bad. That's a really bad look. There we go. And I don't know. I don't know what to say about you, D-Live. I don't even get views on D-Live, which is, I mean, and the thing is, when you play the replay, you can hear everything. So at this point, why the fuck isn't D-Live working for me? I have no idea. I have tried numerous fixes. I've tried all kinds of I can't even tell you all the things that I've tried to try to get D-Live to work. So at this point, I don't know. I don't know if for some reason I just can't connect to D-Live. Works fine on YouTube. Works fine everywhere. Works fine when you replay it. But when we're fucking live, D-Live doesn't want to play my fucking audio. So fuck you, D-Live. Just fuck you, D-Live. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. I don't know what to say to you. I know what to say to D-Live, but then I would lose my 18 shows since last freaked out. I want to get to 19. I'm going to get to the talk feature. Screw this. Gonna get to the talk feature. I'm highly annoyed by this. I am highly frustrated because before this show, I tried yet another little fix. Changing some code thing. Still, I don't know. I may just stop live streaming on D-Live altogether, because fuck you. And with that, we'll get to the next segment. Screw that. Let's get to our next segment, our talk feature, which we'll begin recording in 3, 2, 1. This is our talk feature for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com. Our talk feature today is the drone wars of Libya and the rise of Turkey. Libya may turn out to be the latest in a string of proxy battlefields for world powers that allow them to test the latest war tech developments literally in their arsenal. While multiple theaters throughout the world have seen the increased uses and significance of drones in battles, the tangled civil war in Libya has become the major concentration of drone warfare in the world, offering drone tacticians a myriad of new field-gathered data to help them develop the next round of drones and drone killers. There you go. There you go. I gave you guys the quick, this is what happened there. So if I meander, you can feel happy. You got the key things in there. Now, from last week, we had Edge Region, or from the last segment yesterday, we had Edge Region as our little text thingy that showed up. Will we continue Edge Region? No, we're going to take you down. There you go. No more Edge Region. Let's stick to this story. Quite a fascinating story that's going on over there in Turkey, over the skies of Libya, as it's kind of like what Guernica was before World War II, before the Germans really unleashed fury upon the world. The Germans perfected their craft by bombing the crap out of a city in Spain called Guernica. Pablo Picasso did a famous painting about the bombing of Guernica. Killed hundreds of thousands of people and really taught the Germans all the ways in which they should execute their blitzkriegs. So that's kind of what's going on over the skies of Libya. It's always nice when you can test out tools over skies that have nothing to do with your people. You can just kill people that don't belong to you. And that's what you'd prefer. Generally speaking, if you're going to test out weapons of death, you want to try and test it on people that are not your citizens, because they tend to not like that. But they tend to not care so much when you're doing it to other citizens. So this is from AlJazeera.com. Largest drone war in the world. How air power saved Tripoli. While manned fighter aircraft have been used, for the most part, the air war has been fought by unmanned aerial vehicles, or drones. With nearly 1,000 airstrikes conducted by UAVs, UN Special Representative to Libya, Ghassan Salameh, called the conflict the largest drone war in the world. Well, yeah, it's absolutely. It's big time show, man. All kinds of techniques and tactics and whatever's being perfected there. The war generals are looking at everything that's going over there right now. This is where all the great world powers are using meat bags to test their new tools and tactics against one another. Well, basically, I guess it's, I was going to say the word vicarious. I don't know if I want to say the word vicarious to describe what I'm talking about, but essentially they are using the meat bags of others to test out their toys. And they don't have to use Chinese soldiers, and they don't have to use Turkish soldiers. They can use just the poors that are in that region. Just sign the poors up to fight the poors in the name of, well, not in the name of the poors, although they think so, but really in the name of whatever entity supplied them with the toys. So the arrival of Chinese-made Wing-Loong drones in 2016 made a significant difference to the LNA's military capabilities. First used in the battle for Derna in eastern Libya, the drones had a decisive impact on the outcome as forces loyal to Haftar battled fighters from the Shura Council of Mujahideen in a brutal confrontation for the city. These Chinese-made drones, operated by pilots from the United Arab Emirates and flown out of the Al-Qadim Air Base in the east, have a combat radius of 1,500 kilometers, 932 miles, meaning they can deliver precision-guided missiles and bombs striking anywhere in the country. These drones were used to great effect in the battle for Tripoli, which General Haftar announced in April 2019 against the GNA. Government forces were repeatedly pushed back in a tight pocket as the capital was besieged by the LNA. For all the talk of precision airstrikes, the civilian casualty toll mounted as targets were hit in increasingly built-up urban areas. Well, they were precision targeted. You just don't understand. They precision targeted civilians. It's called terrorism. It's what governments do. It's weird to feel like governments are fighting terrorism when governments exist because of it. If you take away terrorism, who would follow the government? How many laws would you not follow if you weren't fearful that you might be killed if you don't? In the end, that's ultimately what you fear. You could say, well, I don't want to pay I got to pay the taxes, so if I don't pay the taxes, they'll fine me or whatever. No, they'll kill you. That's what it ends with. That's why you pay taxes. Now, some taxes you may want to pay, but all taxes that you pay, would you pay all the taxes? Would you sign up to pay for some of the things that the U.S. government selects your money to be paid for? I don't know. I think a lot of people might stop paying taxes if they could, at least selective. If they could just pay what they wanted to pay, the government will get a lot less money. But if they get less money, then they send out people, meat machines with lethal force to ashore. And that's how they operate. So governments are by their very nature terroristic in how they keep law and order. You will be killed. It's terrorism. I'm being a little bit ridiculous there, but still, it's basically the same thing. But in the name of fighting terrorism, these particular groups with their particular ideological constructs, ideational constructs that allow them to murder their neighbors in the name of whatever pure, certain, absolutarian moral constructs that they seek to impose upon the rest of the universe by any means necessary. Yeah, they're just being whipped up to frenzies to fight one another in the name of Turkey and China and Russia and the United States, basically testing out their new toys and seeing what works, seeing what tactics work. So there were now doubts that the UN-recognized GNA led by Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj could hold out much longer despite support from Italy and Qatar after the Chinese drones arrived. But then the Turkish drones arrived. That all changed in December 2019 when Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan confirmed Turkey would sharply increase its military support for al-Sarraj and the GNA. Along with troops, Erdogan sent Turkish-made armed drones, namely the Bayraktar TB2. Smaller and with a much shorter range than the Wing Lung, the Bayraktar was still able to engage and destroy the LNA's ground targets, harass its supply lines, and attack forward air bases that were once considered safe. Pro-government ground troops could now advance with air cover, the enemy's positions known to their commanders. This, combined with the timely arrival of Hawk missiles, among other air defense systems, meant the main GNA airbase at Tripoli's Mitika airport could now operate without fear of attack. The effect was dramatic as the GNA launched a counteroffensive and in a lightning strike seized the coastal town of Serman, Sabrata, and Al-Ajalat, along with the border town of Al-Asaya, Al-Asa, I put an I in there that's not there. This was followed up by repeated attacks on the Al-Wataya air base, which Haftar's forces were using as their main point of operations. The air base was finally retaken on May 18, a severe blow to Haftar's ambitions in western Libya, as not only was it the LNA's principal headquarters there, it was also his supply and logistics hub. LNA units were forced to retreat, especially as the Russian-made UAE-supplied Pantsir S-1 air defense units were being comprehensively destroyed, leaving the retreating forces with little to no protection from air attacks. Media reports claimed sophisticated Turkish jamming gear was responsible for disorienting the Pantsir's radar, leaving it vulnerable to airstrikes from the Bayraktar drones. While air power can at times turn a tide in a military conflict, it has also been used in Libya as a threat level indicator, a diplomatic tool, and a warning of potential escalation if events are left unchecked. So there you have it, folks. This is the new reality that is beginning to emerge. And we're not even here yet. What's going to happen, what I support, that what will inevitably have to happen is the drones will keep getting smaller, and the smaller platforms will still have higher degrees of lethality attached to them. And war will turn into a sky show of hordes of drones seeking to basically clear the area so that one side or the other can have drone control. And there'll be 3D printers on either side cranking out drones as drones are destroyed. Like right there, the battlefield is a whole complete, the only part of the cycle that, maybe in some instances, the battlefields actually will have the supplies, the raw materials to build the drones, or at least many of the drones. But on the main, other than the raw materials, the whole production process from design to implementation could happen right there on the battlefield. Design, build, implement, modify, design, build, implement. All be there. Everybody be there. racing to get the newer the design, and now with the artificial intelligence, you could see a generation. You have a wave of drones that go out, and the next wave that goes after them is the next generation of drones, because you figured out stuff. You know, the evolutionary contest of design that will occur over the skies with hordes of drones. This is my prediction. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I predict, and I see that's where things are going. That's the direction. Like the picture that I showed here. This is a big drone. Drones are getting smaller and smaller, and size is not limiting their capacities to do what the big drones could do, and that's where we're heading towards. We're just heading towards that. So keep your eye on Libya, where coercive enterprise entities are using the blood and bones of Libyans to test out their toys, their terroristic means of controlling the masses on hapless Libyans who are being led to their deaths in the name of Allah or whatever the heck else spooks they want to use. Not that Allah is, well, I believe in Christ, so I would deny Allah, but for my Muslim friends, I don't mean any disrespect. You know, I mean that in the same sense where I refer to Christ as a spook for people who follow Christ, but I would say not the real Christ. My interpretation, they follow the Christ spook, the one that where they use the word of Christ, or for my Muslim friends, they use the word of Allah, and you could argue if you have a version of Islam that you believe is not coercive in nature, then you would look at the coercive versions of Islam as not being reflective of the true Allah spirit. That's how I feel about Christians who use the name of Christ to whip people, because it could very well be, I don't know how many Christians are participating in this Libyan war. I'm sure there are some. I don't know how many major factions there are. I think most of the factions, though, most of their spooks are my particular Allah with my particular hadiths and whatever traditions that we're going to claim are the absolute traditions that give us the justification to murder our neighbors. And that's what's being lived out in Libya. And I will end this segment there. That's the end of this segment. Coming up next is the last segment of our show, and that is our news poem. And our news poem today is titled, Deep Learners Blast the Uncommon Out of the Sense. Wait. Oh, yeah. I know what that means. Blast the uncommon out of the sense with digital twins. That's what's coming up for the news poem, and I'll end this segment. I'm going to end this segment. Oh, Edge Region is still up there. I'm going to end you there. Oh, there we go. And let's just see. Are you up here on Edge Region? Edge Region's not here. Okay, that's the last. There, I used all 3 segments of the show. Okay, I used them all at the end, or all three scenes in this segment or excerpt. There you go. One more segment to go, ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty, last segment of the show. We'll see how this 6 o'clock show works out. Well, so far the 6 o'clock show has worked out. One person was watching on D Live who, once again, like so often, could not hear me. So D Live, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's D Live. I use Streamlabs. I don't know if it's something there. But every single time you start it, you listen to it, I hear it. I'm like, okay, it's working. Within 15 minutes, the sound just shuts off and never comes back. But then when you play the replay on D Live, it's all there. The sound is there. No idea whatsoever what the frickin' frack is going on. But if anybody is listening to this, I plead with you, please tell me what the freak to do to get the D Live thing to work. Because honestly, I might very well stop streaming on D Live until I get an answer. Because at this point, it's just stupid. It's just futile. Why bother? I'll just live stream on YouTube till I figure it out. I really, really wanted to really work on focusing on D Live as my main live stream platform. The one platform that I really wanted to focus on for my live streaming is totally hosing me right now. Well, it's probably a mistake. I don't know, some stupid thing I'm doing. I have no idea, but it ticks me off. But I got to put it out of my head because I got to do the last segment of the show without freaking out. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to get to 19. I know some of you might think that maybe I should put it at 0. I don't think so. I'm keeping it at 18. If you think that I should go to 0, you let me know. Let's get this last segment recorded, and then we can go back to bed. How about that? How about we just go back to bed? Call it a day. In 3, 2, oops, hold on. Not yet. Get her lined up. In 3, 2, 1. This is the news poem for today for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. Our news poem today: Deep learners blast the uncommon out of the sense with digital twins. That'll make sense. If it doesn't make sense, fire the headline writer, but I don't think you will. Let's get to the essentials here. So essentially what we're talking about is deep learning. Deep learning is the process through which machines can teach themselves in ways that will save programmers hundreds of thousands of hours and money. Well, what they are saying is that in order for you to most effectively develop deep learning, you have to use something called a digital twin. And that means that a digital twin is kind of like a mirror image of the data that you're looking at, so that you use the combination of the mirror image and the image to more accurately figure out what's going on. That's the Cliff Notes version. Very Cliff Notes. As companies start, and this is from EETAsia.com. I don't want to say eatasia.com. That just doesn't seem right. But that's what it says, eatasia.com, although it's EET, not EAT. As companies start to explore DL and how it can help them, many are finding two things. First, it's easy to get a DL prototype, and second, it's harder to get from good prototype results to production quality results. With all of the low to no cost DL platforms, tools, and kits available today, initial development for, I'm just saying deep learning. I don't like DL. I just think designated loser. Oh yeah, the DL list, the disabled list, the disabled list, designated loser. I'm not doing it. All right, we're going to go with deep learning. We're not saying DL. With all of the low to no cost deep learning platforms, tools, and kits available today, initial development for deep learning applications is very quick and relatively easy in comparison to conventional application development. By the way, I'm really interested. I am very interested more and more in learning how I can get involved in artificial intelligence, deep learning, and all that, and maybe someday build one of my own portable personal AI buddies that I built with my own ingenuity and with the fundamental building blocks that enabled an idiot to build an AI with GUI interface. That's all I want. I want to be able to build my own AI with a GUI interface that doesn't require code. That's all. That's all. However, productizing DL applications isn't any easier and can be harder than producing conventional applications. The reason for this is data, having enough data, and enough of the right kinds of data. That's always essential. And I think I said earlier, I pointed out that when I basically lambasted the so-called intellectuals of this sphere that have the data, that have the time, the tools, the access, the resources, and yet they choose to lie. They choose to mangle data to fit narratives rather than simply telling us what is and allowing us to make the choice. But that's a little bit of a digression there. It's still relevant, I think, to the story. Keep that in mind. The success of any DL application depends on the depth and breadth of the data set used in training. If the training data set is too small, too narrow, or too normal, see that if you don't have the right data, if you don't have the right amount of data, you can't fully build an accurate system. All these people that keep promising to build us these utopian solutions to all of our existential woes, and yet they're the same people that are lying to us about data. And they're going to use the lying data to justify the building of the machines that they're going to say are going to rescue us from our own miseries. They're telling you right here in this story, if you don't have the right data, you can't build a machine that does what you say it will do. It's important to train a network with data representing all important states or presentations in sufficient volumes for the network to learn to capture the correct essence of the problem at hand. The difficulty for some fields, such as autonomous driving or semiconductor manufacturing, is that some of the most serious anomalous conditions occur, thankfully, very rarely. However, if you want a deep learning application to recognize a child darting in front of a car or a fatal photomask error, you have to train the networks with a multitude of these scenarios, which don't exist in any great volume in the real world. Digital twins are the only ways to create enough anomalous data to properly train the networks to recognize these conditions. Ideally, to maintain full control over the data, you need 3 digital twins. A digital twin of the process equipment that precedes yours in the manufacturing flow to provide input data for the simulation of your own process, a digital twin of your own process equipment, and a digital twin of the process equipment that follows yours in the manufacturing flow so you can feed your output downstream for validation. Now, I can't pretend to understand exactly why all of these things are true that they say here. I don't understand. They don't give those reasons. Well, the story that this is from, which is from eatasia.com, that's inappropriate, young man. That has a lot more detail, but I read it in its entirety. I read over it, trying to figure it all out. I try to do that as much as possible before I do the show. And I got to say, it's a little bit beyond. I'm not a scientific expert or person, but my main reason for highlighting this story, other than in and of itself to show you that these developments are happening, is to show you in this story the significance of having accurate data to make informed decisions about building up whatever it is that you want to build. And we live at a time of extreme disinformation where the folks that find themselves in the position to have access to the real data have taken it upon themselves to take on a paternalistic role with the rest of humanity, to assume that they are the parents and we are the children. They have the knowledge sets that will enable them to build systems that will be beneficial to all. We're all going to love the new systems, all going to love the new ways, even though these are the same people that constantly misrepresent the truth. They know what the truth is, well, such as you can understand truth. They know what it is. They got it in a drawer, metaphorical drawer, and instead of just taking it out, showing it to everybody, what they do is they look in that little metaphorical drawer and like, which parts are working for us, which parts work against us. Let's make sure anybody that's exposing this part that's true, let's kill them. Let's just cut that off. Whatever we got to do, we're going to stigmatize that type of information in the first place. Whatever types of questions usually end up being asked when you see these levels of lies, let's stigmatize those type of questions in advance. Let's call them dog whistles or whatever other tactic that you want to use. And so it goes. And if you want to design a system that can faithfully actually do what you allege that you want it to do, whether your system wants to create justice or equality or freedom, whatever you think it will, you know darn well we don't need to know what they're not telling us. We've already found enough evidence to show that even if they were not trying to lie to us, they don't know what they're talking about. How many ways have they been wrong about whatever coronavirus is, what it will be? First it was nothing, then it was death, now it's what? What? All these wonderful experts. And they made these life-altering decisions for billions of people on the planet, knowing full well. They look in that drawer and they know full well. They don't know. In this instance, they don't have the answer. But they can't do that because the state doesn't sell itself on we don't know. The state sells itself on, let us kill your children. Well, not all your children, just some of your children. And in return, we will assure that you have the best life you possibly can. And yet we see that you're not delivering on your promise. But you want us to continue to believe that you know what you're saying and you know what you're doing. And I know darn well when you look in that drawer where you got your information, coronavirus information, you open the drawer and there's a whole bunch of gaps there. And you're like, we can't tell them that. How can we make this work for us? How can we make this work for us? That's what the Citadelian does. How can we make this work for us? You need to look at all the data, and you need to make it available to all the people. And let us decide for ourselves what is true and what that means for our lives. Because it's very clear. If you're the ones that are going to be trying to develop these deep learning systems, the data will never be true, because you will selectively filter out the true data so that only the data that favors you will make it through and the data that doesn't gets buried. And if you need to, you'll invent made-up data just to solidify the true parts of data that back up your claims. That's the reality of power that we live in today. And this little digital twin story, it shows you the essentials of not living in a system in which the ones who have access to data don't deem you worthy enough of receiving it for yourself and making your own decision. They have decided that human beings are not equipped to make decisions on their own. And with that, we'll get to the poem part of the news poem. Deep learners blast the uncommon out of the sense. Deep, twinned, deep learning, the capture. I blamed my fallow fields for the drought of my mind, but my viscera tramples the blades of glades. Or blades of grass is what that's supposed to be. Tramples the blades of grass. You know what? I'm going to keep it that way. This is one of those instances where you make a mistake and you're like, you know what? I don't know. I like it. It's weird. Tramples the blades of glades with terrible spinning, ideally to maintain the data. Twins. If you want to spell or cast them or downstream. Validation feeds your light over your bed. The dim fortitude briefly spatters words into your retina, and you assume the difficulty with some forms, fields, digital twins, metric the diametrical flow, the dystopian flaws in the assault, the literal translation of the act of the blink, the rolling eyes data points spiraled into the potential range of values, productizing twins. The illiterate logic we have yet to maintain, learning deep, deep, penetrating the auguries, mystical readings of sinews, blood, the bleached, diseased kidneys, the gesture. It wasn't the need for an answer. It was the need for the end of the campaign. We do this. Yes. Good. Freedom from choice. Processing. Deep, deep. Network, a train, a ticking time bomb blasting the uncommon out of the machine's sense. And there you go. That's the end of the news poem. Don't forget to tip your Frico at frico.com. Tip for the gut of the whole and stuff. Just do it. You go to frico.com, click tip, click on this little button, and it takes you to the PayPal, and you give me $1, $2, $5, or if you're a gazillionaire, give me $1 gazillion. And you feel good about yourself for a day, but only a day. Until the next day, you give $1 gazillion to somebody else. Just keep doing that every day until you don't have $1 gazillion. It's that simple. See, I'm not for the redistribution of wealth at the hands of the state. I'm for the redistribution of wealth at the hands of the person who is aware of just how thuggy it is to hoard so much wealth at the disadvantage of so many. Not out of a moral sense, but out of a sense that, you know what, people are starting to get a little bit more powerful, starting to figure stuff out. You know what, I better get on out of this whole gobbling up all of the universe's resources for my own self-aggrandizement, because these people are going to clock me. Like, that's the kind of thing I want you to come to be aware of. We're kind of done with you, and more, we kind of have the power to be done with you. That's the whole idea. That's what this show is about. The show is about the power to say no to tyrants through mesh networks, through 3D printers, through secured value transactions that no one has business to even know ever happened. That's the kind of stuff that will end tyranny. Not your gods, not your constructs, not your economic plans. It's the real world power for individuals to make and provide on their own, outside of your crappy little systems that rely on murder to continue to exist. That's it. That's the end of this segment. Last segment of the day. Tomorrow we begin again, roughly the same time. I think tomorrow we'll end up doing the show at, I think 7 a.m. tomorrow, just to test. Unless, of course, I get huge numbers for this show, and then I'll be like, no, I'm just going to do it at 6 a.m. We'll see. I'm going to end the segment now. All right, and there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the end of the show. We've come to the end of the show. And should I count it as a loss? There's a couple things there I really kind of stretched the limit of whether I freaked out today or not. And I'm going to say that I think some people you could make a case that I shouldn't add and make this 19 days. But I am of a mind that my outbursts were, I had one instance where maybe I used an expletive within that allotted time that I said, but it was, I guess internally I'll just tell you that I wasn't angry. I was frustrated, and I expressed, I think, what I really intellectually wanted to express. I wanted to express my level of frustration. So that's why, for those of you watching that heard my little, what could be deemed as a freak out, that's not a freak out to me. That is not a freak out. That is, I'm going to say, controlled, righteous frustration delivered for a strategic purpose. So that's why I'm not deeming that a freak out. Freakouts are when I lose my crap and I have no strategic awareness about what I'm saying. I'm just lashing out in fear and pain and frustration. But I didn't do that today, so there you go. I decided 19 shows in a row without a freak out, ladies and gentlemen. Got a little bit of, I'm going to call it subjectively, a little bit of righteous frustration, but no actual freak out. The judges, well, I investigated myself and I found I did nothing wrong. So nothing to see here, folks. This is the end of the show. It is absolutely the end of the show. That part is absolutely true. And so with that, I am going to bid you all adieu. I thank you very much for joining me in this wonderful affair. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to try to do the show 7 a.m. tomorrow. Again, unless I see like tremendous numbers as I produce the excerpts of the videos and whatever. Unless I see something incredibly tremendous, I'm also going to then try the show at 7. So far, I've done this show at 8 a.m. 9, noon, today at 6. I have tried it at 8, and so we'll see. We'll try it at probably 10 and 11, see what those times do, if they make any difference. We'll see you tomorrow, I think, 7 a.m. Won't be later than 9, and it won't be before 6, but it'll probably be 7 a.m. Good night, everybody. Have a blessed day, and as usual, remember, if I said anything to tick you off, really, unless you literally want to kill me right now, I think that we could probably figure out a way that we can coexist, just within the Bill of Rights parameters. Don't try to own my thoughts and my actions, and I won't try to own yours. Peace.
Thank you for engaging with this material presented. As usual, remember your views, your suppositions do not make you subhuman, nor do they permit you to subhumanize others. No humans were harmed in the making of the show, and we extend no wish of harming anyone who hasn't directly harmed or threatened to harm others first, no matter how reprehensible we find your views.
We'll see you in the next Frico Talks, where Frico attempts to talk about news without freaking out.